Financial Modeling, Topic 6, Section 4, Computing a Simulated VaR of a Portfolio Using a Macro. I've written another macro here called SimVar 5000. SimVar 5000. It has one for loop for I equal 1 to 5000, next I. This is something we just talked about, and that is the cells 3, 4 is 5000 minus I. That's going to serve as a countdown in cell D3. If I added one more piece of code to SimVar 5000, I added this executable statement that's going to be executed 5,000 times. Cells 4 plus I, 4 equals cells 20, comma 2. So what this is going to do, when I run my loop for the first time, I is going to be set equal to 1. This is going to count down to 4,999. This is going to put in cells 4 plus I, in other words, 5, 4, whatever is in cells 22. 20th row, second column. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. It's going to put in 5, 2. That is this cell right here. 5th row, 5, 4. 5th row, 4th column. It's going to put right here whatever's in 22. I'm going to go down 20 rows, 2nd column. So this portfolio gain or loss is going to be put right here when I run this macro. So I'm going to check my VBA in my module. There is SimVar 5000. 3rd row, 4th column is going to get the countdown. 4 plus I, 4, which in other words, in the first time I run it, it's going to be in the 5th row, then 6th row, then 7th row, whatever's in 22. 20th row, 2nd column. So I'm going to right-click on my star. I'm going to assign a different macro. I'm going to put in SimVar 5000. Hit OK. Now when I click on the star now, it's going to execute the macro to take whatever's in this cell here and put it here. When it does that, it's going to do an automatic recalc. This is going to get a new number because it's going to get a new random shock. And then it's going to put it here and here and here. So I'll run that. It's calculating 5,000 random gains or losses and then just putting them here. So these are now 5,000 portfolio gains and losses. I've given that a named range. It's called Sims. Notice Sims goes down to cell 5004. Let me go back up to the top. So I'm going to calculate the VaR of the portfolio. Think about this. These are 5,000 random portfolio gains or losses, assuming a normal distribution. The 5% worst case of these gains or losses should be my 95% confidence interval VaR. In other words, the 5% worst case scenario. Now, since these are 5,000 numbers, 5% of 5,000 will be 250. So if I were to sort these numbers from high to low and take the 250th smallest number, the biggest negative number in this series, the 250th largest loss, that would be my VaR. One way of doing that in Excel without actually doing the sorting is using the small function. I'm going to say minus small to turn the loss into a positive number. Put in the range of Sims. Notice this became highlighted. So it's going to say go to Sims and find the smallest. Now I could put in 250, but I can make that more generic or flexible. I can say 1 minus x. That'll be 95% confidence interval times 5,000. That's the number of numbers here. I could have just written 250, given the smallest 250th number. However, I'd like to be able to change x and maybe get the smallest 1%. So when I do that, I get 28,300, which is almost equal to the $28,000 VAR. And if I had a more random number, say I did 100,000 instead of 5,000, what happens is this simulated VaR will converge to the formula VaR. So that's how I can do a simulated VaR. Now notice I don't really need it yet because this VaR is actually a little bit more precise at this point. However, later in this course, when we start doing portfolios with annual contributions or withdrawals, I need to have a more flexible model, and only the simulated VaR is going to be able to work for me. So there's our results. One extra thing I did, I haven't done in the lecture yet or in the Excel sheet, is I did a histogram of this column of sims. If you do that and just do the automatic bins, this is the histogram of the $5,000 or 5,000 gains and losses. Notice the 5% tail, roughly this part right here, visually represents what the VaR number means. Roughly that 5% tail, that 5% worst case, is losing about $28,000. If I were to change the T to a 5, rerun my macro, this macro is now flexible enough that it would calculate a VaR. The formula VaR is 4,500, and if I now rerun my macro, you'll notice that it's $4,600 here. One thing I'll notice before we move on to the next topic, I just put a negative sign in front of the small because, again, VaR is always calculated or communicated as a positive number even though it's a loss. So the 4,600 really is the 250th negative or largest negative number here, the largest 250th loss. So in this topic, we calculated simulated VaR for a portfolio using a macro. In the next topic, we're going to use an at-risk add-in software to do the same thing.